This program contains strong language and strong sexual content. It is meant for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour Podcast. I am Ray. I'm sitting here with Mike and Matt. We have another episode for you guys. Actually, this is the first episode that we're doing without a guest. So you guys are going to get to know a little bit more about us. So what are we going to be talking about here tonight?
Well, what we're going to be talking about tonight is mostly about video games and how me and Ray are, avid video game players. Mike is old-timey, doesn't really play video games.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, he's basically Eustace McGee over here. Like, we sit there and, like, Matt, me and you, we sit there, we play probably some of the most fucked up games you can imagine. Hitman, Grand Theft Auto, all that. Yeah,
Don't know what that is.
And Eustace over here
Never
plays, Sonic the Hedgehog and, all that Sonic, bullshit.
But, like Pac-Man and, what's that, Lulu.
Well, I mean, if you remember when we talked to Sophia West, Mike said that he likes, physical digital media, like CDs, records, all that stuff.
I like to hold it in my hand.
Yeah. But, of course, this is coming from a sociopath that eats his sloppy joes.
Get on this, are we?
Yeah, yeah. He eats his sloppy joes open face. So I don't know what kind of sociopath. My wife eats it the same way, and I sat there and I just looked. I was like, what kind of world do we live in? Sloppy joes are meant to be sloppy.
So you'd rather sit there looking like a damn idiot, dropping everything everywhere. We can just kindly and gently cut it up. Put as much sloppy joe as you want on top of it, not limited to a small amount.
But see, here's the thing. When you say sloppy joes, you should just say joes. Because yours aren't sloppy. That's the thing. Like, you sit there.
They're super sloppy.
I like my sloppy joes extra sloppy.
I think Matt said it the best last night when we were texting. Matt's like, I picture Mike, he's just sitting there, he's wearing a nice suit, classical music playing, knife and fork, cutting up his sloppy joes and all that.
Napkin neatly tucked into my shirt.
Now, with that being said, what do you think is the most recent game that you've played? Like, I can imagine that when I haven't been to Mike's new house, I've been to his old house, but I've never really ever noticed the game system. Like, when you come into my basement, you notice my game systems, all that stuff.
I played them a lot as a kid. I would say probably from the ages of 8 or so was when I got my first NES. From that point until roughly 15 or so, like right around the N64 when that began is when I started to get away from it. Not because I didn't enjoy them anymore. I just started getting other things, other shenanigans, as it were. And I guess I kind of got stuck in that time period. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and everything I've seen afterwards, I would watch friends play, and nothing really enticed me, to be honest. Pixels over polygons, all day, every day.
I guess I kind of did the same thing. Probably when I was, I started playing at a very young age, watching mostly my older brother, but probably about 15 or so, I got out of it, and, because there was other shit to do, like ride my fucking bike outside. But, and as I got older, I got back into it because then obviously I became a recluse and, got mostly into, like, first-person shooters, like things like Call of Duty. Yeah, like mostly shooter games is what I play. Just, I don't know, because I can't really shoot people in real life.
That's a genre I've never really got into myself. What is it about a shooter? Is it something that you can't do in real life? So that's
I mean, what else beats just walking up and shooting a man in the face for no reason? Like,
yeah, I guess that would be part of it. Not really, because I'm a civilized person. But just the fact that you can do that in a video game.
But you eat sloppy joe like a maniac, but you're a civilized person.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, see, here's the thing now, Matt, you might be able to agree. What do you think the first most popular shooter game was? I think it was 007 GoldenEye on Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
I used to play that religiously, and the best thing that I used to do is invisibility mode, because there was that one level where you could hide up in the vents and you could go invisible, you could drop down, and there was a dude taking a shit on the toilet. So you could like shoot him from the vent, or I would throw down a bunch of proximity mines, like stack them up like this fucking high, and then hit the button and he'd go flying up the stall.
Making a 6-foot pile with his hand, by the way. That's how high.
Yeah, 007. Yeah, that was really nice. I used to use the character Odd Job, and whenever I used to go against that player versus player part, I would just come up and just karate chop the shit out of people.
Well, with Odd Job,
Odd Job was so short, it was hard to get target on him. So I would just run up and start slapping people.
Well, what you do is with Odd Job in that game, you could kneel. So with Odd Job, you could kneel, and he'd be super midget at that point, because at that point you just can't even touch him. He's just so little, and if you had Jaws was like 8 feet tall. You could perfectly chop Jaws in the dick, being Odd Job, just going around. And I think the best part with GoldenEye, and Mike's just sitting here like being old, not knowing what the hell.
I know what GoldenEye is. Like I said, that was around the era that I got out of it, but I'm aware of the game. But let me ask you this, though. If you were to play GoldenEye today, I know graphics aren't everything, obviously, because I like the retro stuff. I mean, however, that along with PS1 stuff, the early titles to me, just, they don't hold up. I mean, you can still have good gameplay, it can still be fun, but it's more nostalgia than anything. They don't really hold up. I don't think they do.
Like you play GoldenEye now, and I guarantee you, if
a lot of people
Matt were playing, we would still have fun.
But it's true. Guess what? They suck. They're bad. They're horrible.
Like we would play it now, but eventually the graphics would get to me.
It would hurt my eyes.
Yeah,
like I've tried to play an older game.
It was because it was a newer presentation. The 3D atmosphere. It was instead of just a basic side scroller, something along those lines. It was cool for what it was, but. What it is now is hot garbage.
Well, I mean, shit, you look at it like this. I downloaded Sonic on PlayStation 4 about a year ago. Sonic 2. It had Sonic 2 and Sonic 1. Sonic 3 was the best. In my mind, Sonic 3 was the best. And I put in Sonic, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be a breeze. Played the first level, and I couldn't beat the first level. I was like, the fuck? I turned the shit off and deleted the game. I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I've tried playing Sonic just recently, and I don't know if it has to do with my hand and eye coordination. I'm not quite sure. But I couldn't get the character to jump over spikes. And I was like, I suck.
This may or may not have anything to do with it, and this might be shocking that I know this, but it could be due to the latency on the TV and the reaction time. There is a delay between input and how it works on modern TVs. Like an old CRT, you hit the button and it reacts instantly. Now these modern displays and emulation, there's a definite delay, so that could be it too. There was a guy that tested, what was it, that game? Jesus. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. He could do that looking away, no problem on the legit game. On an emulator, he gets whacked every time. It's because of the delay and the latency.
And, he's sitting there saying latency, and I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck is he actually talking about?
It's an old man word. You'll understand.
Well, I see that a lot of times in this editing program. It'll be like, do you want to adjust the latency? I'm like, I don't know what this means, so I'm not fucking with it.
Latency is a thing, but especially like with, I think, PC gamings. Like, you get a lot of things about latency.
World of Warcraft and all those. Now, with PC games, I think a lot of the games are actually better via PC version. Like, you look at a Grand Theft Auto, for example. You can mod the shit out of that game so bad. You can have a dog walking around firing rockets out of its asshole, if you want to. Or you can have, a minigun that fires cars.
He's not coming up with something to fly. He tries this stuff. He really does.
I mean, no doubt. Like, you sit there, you get a car that can fire fucking, like, a gun that can fire cars. Right. And recently I've been playing, and I like doing explosive weapons. And you just sit there, and the bullets are just explosive, and everything you shoot just explosions everywhere. So, and I'm sitting there, and this is what our night's like. I'm sitting there doing something like that. Matt's sitting there doing something fucked up, and Mike's sitting there jumping through pipes playing Mario. And it's like that just goes also to show what kind of mentality of the people that you're dealing with. Mike's always going to ask.
To be fair, I also have young children. Well, Matt does as well, but I tend to do most of my gaming nowadays with them. in front of them. So it's something we can, do together that I can't, at this point in their lives, let them be exposed to dogs shooting rockets out of their ass.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Like,
true, that
this is coming.
I make sure my kids are asleep because I do some fucked up shit in my video games. It's almost like watching porn.
Yeah, well, look at it like this. Me and you, we've played, what was it, Far Cry 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 together.
Right. You remember when we were playing Far Cry?
Real quick, explain to me, too, and for other people that may be as old as me, what is Far Cry? What is it about?
Far Cry, basically post-apocalyptic game and all that. And that one...
First-person shooter.
Yeah, that one was based off of, what the fuck, the dude from Waco. The dude that did...
David Koresh?
Yeah, the cult leader from Waco.
Right.
And we were playing, I brought that up, I'm like, that's...
The storyline is similar. It's not an actual, true to...
That was the inspiration, or the
right? That's the inspiration.
Okay.
And part in that game, what I was running around doing, well, me and Ray were doing this because we play co-op together. It's fun. It's like the new age shit. Now you don't know nothing about.
Not a bit.
So we were beating the shit out of the cow with our bare hands.
It was a bull. It was a bull.
It was like for an hour
because it kept on goring us.
Right, we're just punching it because nowadays I don't know if you. Back in your time.
So is it an objective here, or how can you be in a game?
You're supposed to stop the cult leader, but it's open world.
Right.
So you can go around and do whatever you want. And I think I had just crashed a helicopter. Mm-hmm. Don't know why we had the helicopter, but I had just crashed it. And we come up on something. He comes flying over like this cliff in like some dune buggy type thing that he found. And we just see this bull just chilling. And Matt runs over to him and says, you motherfucker. And he punches the bull and it kills him. So I had to go back, bring him back to life. So then our goal was, let's see if we can beat this bull to death with our bare hands. And it took us a while.
This game, or most of them now, that you can interact with things like the way you're describing. If it's in there, there's a chance you can do something to it with it.
Right. Most games that are open world, you can interact with pretty much whatever is in the game. Like games like Grand Theft Auto, like Far Cry was just mentioned. Now there's a new one coming out. It's called, I think, Cyberpunk 20.
Oh yeah, that's the one with Keanu Reeves or whatever.
Yeah. Where you can just basically you pick your character, you create.
Well, it's not his first one, because if you remember, around 1989, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure on the NES. So
that's one thing I will give NES is the era when NES was out.
Have to admit. And
part of Super Nintendo is that when literally anything that came out, it was made into a game. And the
licensing during that era was god awful.
Yeah.
Anything that they could put a tag on and make a buck off, they did. And some of them surprisingly had were okay, we're decent.
Yeah.
But the vast majority, 95% of them, were just trash.
Oh man, like the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street games, just hot garbage. Unlike the Friday the 13th game that came out a year and a half ago, that is excellent. That's a great depiction of.
I remember discussing
Jason
that a lot of
Friday
lately.
13th.
Was there some kind of legal issues with that game going on?
What happened is right now Sean Cunningham and the guy who actually wrote the script, I forgot his name right off the top of my head, but
So
the guy
these are the creators and writers of the Friday the 13th
yeah, they're having a legal battle over the copyrights for Friday the 13th. It doesn't involve Jason himself, because in the first movie Jason appeared, but he wasn't yet named Jason. He was the boy in the lake. So, he actually became Jason in the second movie. So really
he wasn't referred to as Jason in the first movie.
Yeah, that's
I know I've seen that movie multiple times, and I can't say that you're right or you're wrong, because
well, remember when she's in the hospital, she's like, did you recover?
I remember one scene with his mother, and I remember her saying the words "my boy," but I again, if I had a gun to my head, I could not say for sure that she said the name Jason.
Yeah, and that's why in the legal thing he can't take Jason away. So really, a lot of people are kind of like, well, Sean S. Cunningham should just be like, well, fuck it, whatever. Let someone make a movie titled Jason Voorhees or whatever and all that.
That can make me have to watch this tonight.
Jason is not roped in with that. It's just the intellectual property of Friday the 13th itself, its name. So that if they wanted to, they could get around it. That's why you notice there's Jason figures that are still being manufactured right now, because Jason can be manufactured, but the Friday the 13th name can't be until that's done. And that's why the game got affected, is that you
So,
know.
even
is
though
the
it's
game
already released,
unplayable? You can't play it now? Or?
Well, they had a bunch of patch releases that were going to come out. Like they were going to have, I think it was Jason X. They had Jason X ready to go and the stage for Jason X ready to go. And they couldn't release them because it was Friday the 13th, the game. So ultimately the game got affected by that. They gave them a cease and desist.
could they not theoretically, since the game has already been purchased by certain people, there's nothing really you can do about that, I would imagine. However, the new areas, patches, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are, couldn't they release those under the title of Jason, not Friday the 13th?
It's weird with stuff like that. I think it's a slippery slope because
politics.
with Friday the 13th, you're releasing it for the game, which you can't make money off the property.
You may
pretty
mention
much.
earlier about, in years past, any movie, TV show, cartoon had a game made about it. Again, I'm like, touching on this repeatedly. An NES game, Journey to Silius, was originally made as a Terminator game.
Oh.
Late in development, they lost the license. They just changed the name and changed the character look. It had the same story, same layout, the whole nine. They didn't change the game at all, just the name to it and, the main character in it.
Well, speaking of what we were just talking about, Friday the 13th, the game, originally that was going to be a game called Summer Camp. It was going to have the same bases, and I remember seeing trailers
Had they went
for
along
it.
with that, they wouldn't be in this issue, it seems like.
Yeah, and it said Summer Camp, and it was going to be just a random killer. And then apparently they wrote Sean S. Cunningham, and Sean S. Cunningham saw what their stuff looked like. He's like, this looks exactly like a Friday the 13th movie. Let's do this. And what's cool is with that, Kane Hodder, who I thought was the best Jason of all time, played the character action stuff for the game. So really, when you look at it realistically, in a sense, Kane Hodder has played every Jason. Because he was part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in the game. So, that's kind of a
Film,
cool thing
TV,
right there.
commercials, and now games.
Yeah.
In several mediums.
Yeah. And let's see. What,
It was a good game. I liked
Yeah,
playing it.
yeah.
I never got to the fucking end because do you remember the night we were playing with a bunch of random people?
Yeah.
And I was almost to the exit, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And then, because the objective is to escape.
I was just going to ask that. Okay, you said you never got to the end, and I'm glad you clarified that because I kind of hear this. Maybe I'm misinterpreting things, but a lot of these games now it seems like, is there ever an end? It seems like to a lot of them there isn't. It seems to me be some odd objectives, but not necessarily an end.
Well, I know in
As it
Friday
used
the
to be.
13th, you've got to, you got to get the fucking car battery and shit. You got to get shit started. There's multiple ways you can escape, but it's been a while since I played.
Pretty much, it had a bunch of objectives.
Right.
So when Friday the 13th came out, single player came out before the game got abolished. Like right as this lawsuit started, single player came out, which you could play through some of the scenes in the movie. However, it was just a open world online only thing. So pretty much, I think it was 6 or 8 counselors, and there was 2 things you could be. You could automatically spawn as a counselor, or you could automatically spawn as Jason, and that made
Did you have a choice? Did you have a decision, or was it automatically decided?
It was auto. So or if you were the room administrator, if you were the room administrator, if you opened that room and people came in, you could pick who could be Jason.
Right.
And that also marked the first game where you could actually be the killer, where you could be Jason. All the other games that came out before it, Freddy, all that stuff, you could not be the killer. So,
and let me tell you, there was some brutal ways to kill fucking people.
Yeah.
Like shit you would only see and imagine in, a Jason movie, or just being psycho.
This is going to sound stupid, and I'm sure gamers understand how this works, but I don't. There's obviously a limited number of buttons on the controller. Without reading a guide manual or anything along those lines, how do you know how many things you do and how you do them?
Well, it pops up on the screen. Like, for example...
Okay, all right, now I got to cut you off right there. It pops up on the screen. This pisses me off. That's another thing, another problem I have. It holds your hand, tells you what to do. So how are you really playing anything if it tells you what the fuck to do the whole time?
tutorials and shit you can turn off if you want to. But then if you're playing for the first time, you're running around blind. Chances are you're going to get killed pretty quickly.
Yeah, like with
most games are like that now.
With Friday the 13th, the game, I wouldn't have known that there was atmosphere kills if that wasn't on. Which, let's say you're in the cabin, you're Jason, and you pick someone up by their throat, and you're walking around with them, then all of a sudden you make it to a deer head hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
And it says press circle, and you look, you're like, what? So you press circle, and he jams their head right through the antler.
Now, if you weren't playing as Jason, somebody else was. You didn't know them. They're playing against you, and they do that to you. I guess that's another way you could just still play and learn by
just
experience and see. Oh wow, you can do that. That can happen.
Yeah. So a lot of it's experimenting, but chances are Jason got his hands on you. You're fucked.
Yeah, with that game,
there's very few ways you can deter him from.
Oh yeah, and the teleporting stuff was interesting too. How they did his powers, and all that. That was cool because you could do an infrared thing where you could see everybody in infrared, and you got an ability to where you could fastly. You remember, and they said they took it from Evil Dead. You remember Evil Dead when the what the fuck are they called? Why can't I remember? I'm an Evil Dead buff. When the zombies were coming through the woods or whatever and all that, and they would have that fast camera thing. It'd be like flying through the woods. They
never show an object or an entity. It was just
they adapted that for Jason's teleport.
Motion. Right.
Yeah. So they did that. And really, with me, what kind of offset that game for me was the online play. Because you got people who would learn how to cheat. You would get people who were in the rooms together who were telling their buddies who were Jason where people were hiding.
Right.
And then you also got people who would stop. I remember they had to do a patch update because there were too many pocket knives. And when you were Jason, you pick somebody up and they would have firecrackers or pocket knife. They could stab him in the neck, he'd drop them. And there were just too many pocket knives. So every time you pick someone up, they stab you in the neck. Or they would do the kind of shit where they would break the window and they would jump in the window. By the time you made it out the door, they'd jump back into the fucking window.
I loved doing that. I fucked with Jason so hard doing that.
What I would do is I would be Jason from part 2. Because Jason from part 2 with the sack on his head, I think he started off with 8 bear traps.
Right.
So what I would do...
Speaking of sack on his head, this one time I was watching a WWE pay-per-view with 2 friends of mine. One drank way more than he should have. Wound up holding the kitchen trash can, throwing up in it, passing out. So, dropped the sack on his head, took a picture, and made that his phone screensaver. So when he woke up, that's what he saw.
And I'm sure if he's listening right now, he probably appreciates
I won't name him by name, but if he does, he knows who he is.
But yeah, that was the unique thing about Jason is he had special abilities.
Yeah, every Jason had a different ability.
Right,
like part 2 had certain stuff,
Right, he was spawned with increased speed or bear traps and shit like that.
Well, that Jason, he came with so many bear traps. What I would do is if you came up on a cabin that had like 5 counselors in there, you're like, all right, they're going to be those assholes that jump through the window because they always hoard together. So what I would do is I would booby trap the cabin. They would know I was out there, but they wouldn't know what I was doing because I didn't start breaking windows or anything like that. I would wait for Jason to get his rage thing, which means you could jump through fucking windows and doors and all that shit at that point. And I would put a trap down outside every window. And as soon as I would bust through the door, they'd go out the windows and you would hear pop, 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 pop. And you hear them go, ah! And at that point, it was just fucking feast or famine. If you got away, you got away. And
that's very strategic.
Yeah. So that's how I made it through with that.
I clearly see you guys have a lot of enjoyment with this game and have had some fun experiences. But again, let me just say here, is this going to be about the Jason game or video games overall?
Oh, video games overall.
Like we're just talking about Jason a whole lot.
Well,
by the way, Freddy Krueger over Jason.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
hey, don't get me wrong. I know you're a huge
don't
Freddy
argue
mark.
with me.
I know you're a huge Freddy mark, but I love Jason with a passion.
I could see it going either way, but
now,
did they ever do a sequel to that, Jason versus Freddy? I thought they were going to. I thought I saw might have been a fan
there are talks of a Nightmare on Elm Street with Robert Englund.
The later Nightmare on Elm Street films definitely got campy and silly and goofy. I wasn't too much of a fan of that. Yeah. But like, say the first 3, that version of Freddy, just the concept of being able to get to you through a dream, trumps anybody chasing with a knife any day.
That's probably the hardest.
That concept is like bam.
Because didn't they have something called like the Dream Masters or something?
They had Dream Warriors and Dream Master, I believe. I think those were 2 of the sequels.
So how do you fight somebody that can fucking kill you in your dreams? Because they can.
It's a complete mind fuck. They can manipulate you. They can let you think you're winning, and then.
Well, this is a video game episode, mind you. Freddy killed someone in a video game in one of his movies, which he had the
power glove. Yeah, the power glove.
Did you guys have any of that? I never had a power glove.
That's something I want now. I now want a power glove with the Freddy Finger gimmicks.
Yeah, and then they had this thing. It was this gimmick. It was like Nintendo came out with it, and it never really did well. But it was one of the first VR things. I remember seeing something on Facebook about it. It was red.
The Virtual Boy.
Yeah, it was Virtual Boy. So Virtual Boy.
Gay peripheral, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, see, I'm fair about things. I'm objective. I like the retro games a shit ton better than I do the card stuff, but when something's stupid, it's stupid, and that was stupid.
Well, like, look, and to like reiterate and like get back on here, the gaming is, I think the most addictive part of the gaming aspect is nowadays, we're in the modern age, not your Stone Age, the online gameplay.
Yeah.
I think that is the main like grab.
That's chaos.
Game
That could be another thing too. I would rather hold myself up by myself, not be annoyed. I used to like to. I don't drink any longer, but I used to like to drink by myself, smoke weed by myself, play games by myself, play with myself by myself,
and take a bite of it while he's playing his video games.
I don't like people, so maybe that's the reason why I can't get along with this too.
Right. I don't like people as well. But it's a good social
atmosphere. But you don't have to be face to face with them either, I guess. So that's...
Well, you meet people online. I know it sounds like a dating app, but then you meet people online, and you have,
well, like in the same way people have 5,000 Facebook friends. You don't have 5,000 friends, motherfucker.
Well, no, that's true. But no, actually, I have a friend that I game with every once in a while, and I actually do not know him outside of like anything else. So that's one of the things. Like, I mean, and
that is cool.
He knows I'm a dad and stuff like that. I mean, he's younger. He's not.
Well, here's the thing. Mike also doesn't have to worry about with not playing, online play. He doesn't have to worry about being murdered by a 3-year-old Vietnamese boy.
Yeah.
Because you play a lot of those shoot 'em up games like Call of Duty, for example.
I can imagine that upsetting me.
Got me again. God damn it.
And how about we do this? We'll Atari's kind of old. But how about we go with each system, relevant
That's
system.
the first system I had, so that's how old I am.
And we say what our favorite game was.
The wood grain console with the silver switches on it. Yes,
for example, Nintendo. What would you say your favorite game was from Nintendo?
My favorite game from Nintendo. I would say the Castlevania series.
Castlevania?
As an individual game, probably Ninja Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden?
Yep. Are we going with Nintendo?
Yeah.
I played a lot of Mega Man.
Mega Man was good.
And a lot of Legend of Zelda. I know I just ragged on you earlier.
Okay.
But I did play a lot of Zelda.
Yeah.
I'm not a lover of RPGs, action RPGs, whatever you call them, action adventure games like that, in the Zelda style per se. But I do like the Zelda games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's about the only one in that specific genre that I could get with.
The only Zelda game I ever liked was the gold cartridge. If you remember the cartridges they had, it was the gold cartridge, which it's now worth a fortune on eBay, by the way. I wish I still had it. The gold cartridge. So I liked the Zelda. I don't know. Last I saw it was like at least a few $100 out of the box. So
a loose one is?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And
good to know.
so, because it was rare, it was a different variant. You could get it in a regular cartridge, but then there was a gold cartridge. And of course, I had the gold cartridge when I was a kid. So it was that.
Blew through this bad boy twice.
And Mario Brothers 3. I really loved Mario Brothers 3.
That was good. I remember getting an exceptionally good report card one year, and that was the reward I got was Mario 3. It was a surprise. And back then, you got to keep in mind, games were $50.
Oh, yeah. Every game. Regardless of how much
today's dollars, you're talking, that's $115 or so, what that game cost back then, relatively speaking.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a big deal. And I didn't put that thing down for probably a month. I mean, every second of every day was spent playing that game.
I think Mario 2 was the shit stain of the entire Mario saga. It was just so weird playing Mario Brothers. It was
because it wasn't
different.
Because it wasn't intended as a Mario game. It was a Japanese game converted.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, that's where
they wanted to focus off Mario.
It was so different from
the actual sequel to the original Mario Brothers. The difficulty was so insane that they didn't want to release it in the U.S. market that way. They figured that the sales would just drop off as soon as people found out how hard and difficult it was. So it was a Japan-only release, and then they repackaged another existing Japanese game as Mario 2 and released here.
Yeah.
That's why you have such a disparity between.
It was different.
They came up with a clever way to tie Mario into the story of the game. I guess it sort of made sense. But
Now-
the thing about Mario 3 that was neat is that you could backtrack. You know, remember
Oh,
the
yeah.
original, you
could
went,
go back
you went
to
right,
yeah.
you were stuck. You couldn't go back.
Yep.
Yeah.
In 3, you could go any direction, up, down.
Do you remember the power in that game? You could fly through the whole level.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what it was called. I used to call it the P power.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I just remember
That's
being
was
like,
when you had the little whistle thing. When you go to the little mushroom house, you could get one of those.
Oh, man,
I used to call it the P-wing.
I don't. Right, I cannot do the sound of that whistle anymore, but I can hear it in my head.
Well, it's funny
That's the
because with
funny
that,
thing.
I used to love being either Frog Mario, but I would be Frog Mario
I
in
like
like
the
the
raccoon
desert.
suit. The
Like-
Tanuki suit it was. Yeah,
Tanuki?
Tanuki suit, I
Yeah.
think it was. Yes.
And this is not off topic, but back in the day, when that came out, I was probably about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I literally came out of the bathroom like butt naked. I had toilet paper stuffed
Are
out
you
of
sure
my
this is?
asshole.
Are you sure this is when you were a kid, or was this last
No,
week?
oh, I don't remember what I did last week. That's pretty fucked up. But no, I had them at 4 or 5. I ran out of the bathroom with toilet paper hanging out of my ass, and I was like, "Mommy, look, I'm Mario!" And I was like swinging around. You know, the little
Oh,
twirl
like
thing
how you would
did where
hit
you
things with his tail.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom still brings that to me this day, and I'm like, I can't believe I fucking did that shit.
Well, it goes to show that even back then you kind of did fucked up things, because I used to love being Tanuki Mario, and what I would do is I would turn into the statue, and I would let a turtle or one of the Goombas go by me. And as soon as they went by me, I'd turn back into Tanuki Mario, and I'd fucking just jump on them. And I'd be like, oh, now you see me, now you don't, now you did, bitch.
Right.
Yeah.
So it stems deep
Yeah.
with your
It goes- yeah, it goes
psychotic
really-
ways.
So we'll move on to Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo.
And I think Super Nintendo, they had some pretty solid games. I wouldn't say this
There's
was
a
one of my
game you
favorite-
like that I know you have a lot of experience with currently. That's a series now, very popular. And the original one originated on that system, Mario Kart.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Mario Kart. See, and I'm going
Yeah, I'd
to,
have to
off
agree.
topic
Mario
from Super
Kart was-
Mario Kart was solid. That originated there. And there was a game that I had. I remember it was for Super Nintendo and Sega. And it was the same game, but it was different on each system. And it pissed me off. I don't know if you guys remember it.
Aladdin?
It was a Beavis and Butthead game.
It was a butthead
And
game.
it was a whole complete different storyline. And the way-
One was like a sort of an action side scroller
Yeah.
type game. I think that was the Super Nintendo one.
Yeah.
In the Genesis one, you had to find like these pieces of a ripped ticket or something.
Yeah, yeah, and you
to go to
farted
the,
and
to go to the
burped on
Guar
things and
concert.
shit. You had to
Yes,
drop like a
yes.
frog in like the
Core.
deep fryer
Yes.
and shit. And those games were so awesome. I remember the Super Nintendo one. You had to fight Todd. That was one of the things. Todd was a boss. You had to fight Todd. Speaking of which, in case nobody knows, Beavis and Butthead is being re-released. Mike Judge actually just announced that Beavis and
Didn't
Butthead.
he do that a couple years ago?
Now,
already?
he's doing a whole brand new series for it.
I feel like 5 or so years ago they came out with new episodes.
I feel like he mentioned it. I don't know if it ever
Oh my God.
came to fruition.
This is one of those what the fuck's called Mandela effect things. I
Yeah,
swear to you,
yeah,
they already
yeah.
did this like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit hesitant on because
I think I agree with you. I think there were some new ones that he came out with.
It was like a
Or
season
it
and a
was
half
talked
worth. It was,
about,
it was
yeah.
like 15 episodes.
I just don't know how well it's gonna do in this day and age.
Yeah.
I don't know how well. It's
That
gonna
just
do.
like you don't know how The Office is going to do if they ever revamp The Office.
There's no way it can be the same version as it was before.
Oh no, no.
I didn't think about that aspect of how the world is now and what's acceptable and what isn't.
But when you look at
I
it
don't
now,
see
look
how
at
Beavis
South
and Butthead
Park.
can fly now.
Yeah, the way that
Look at South Park.
things are, it's way too sensitive.
That's a good thing. I don't know how. That is a good thing to talk about right now.
Yeah.
How is South Park still flying on the radar?
Yeah.
How?
Because
They still do whatever they want,
because
and that
they're
hasn't been
cartoon
canceled yet.
characters.
I'm not saying
don't
it should be
know.
canceled.
Well, so are Beavis and Butthead,
no,
though. They're more of a cartoon character than what South Park is. South Park is what, claymation or like whatever the
South
fuck that
Park
is?
has
It's all
hit
about
on
the
some
money.
hard, fucked up topics and has never been like put under heavy fire like everything else is today.
Not at all. And they don't give
How
a
have
fuck.
they gotten away with it?
Well, comedy. I remember.
I know. I
Comedy
mean, don't get me
Central
wrong. Good for
turned
them, and I'm glad.
Off the mic because they're going to hear soon. But yeah, South Park. Because I watched that shit from growing up. Like, I started watching when I was in maybe 5th grade.
Yeah.
And they had some
That
really
has got to be
crazy
going on
shit.
25 years now. That show's been
Right,
on.
they had some crazy shit then, and it's only gotten worse. I had to get away from it because of how crazy it got.
Yeah.
But it's all about the money.
Yeah.
If
And
they're paying.
So back to the video game stuff, Super Nintendo. So are you guys both going to say Mario Kart
I would
for
go
Super
Mario
Nintendo?
Kart.
For the favorite
Mario Kart?
game?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I definitely enjoyed that. Contra 3, Alien Wars. I like
That was
that a
good.
lot.
That was good.
Let me think of some other good ones here.
Super Mario
84.
Super Mario World was good. That was my favorite Mario.
I would say that because that was one of my favorite Marios. I
And
used to
Yoshi
go to my
Elements, it
friend's
was a
house
cool
all the
thing.
time
Yeah.
because he was the only one in the neighborhood that had the Super NES because he was privileged enough. And
He was
so,
privileged.
so I would go over his house and I'd play it, and it was just like I would just play that. I wouldn't even talk to him.
I'm just coming to your house.
Another one came out during that
No.
era. The Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat games.
Oh yeah,
Were during that
That's right.
period.
Forgot about that. Mortal Kombat came out. That first Mortal Kombat was on Super
did they
Nintendo.
come
I'm going to say
Super
Mortal
Nintendo?
Kombat.
Did
It absolutely
Well,
was.
Mortal Kombat.
Holy shit.
Almost all the Mortal Kombat 1 through Ultimate came out
Yes.
on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
See, I had Sega.
You forget about that.
I had my friend
both.
had
The
I
big
had both.
deal,
Super NES.
Mortal Monday, 1993, when the game was released for both systems. Graphically, the SNES version was superior. The Genesis version played more like the arcade, and it had the ability to do the fatalities with the blood. That's what
yeah.
was missing from
That's right.
the Super Nintendo version.
I mean, from then that really got me into.
So everybody shit on the SNES version.
What's wrong with me, Ray? But Mortal Kombat really
Yeah, I would-
set a different bar.
I would
As
say
a child, and it was like it pushed like violence to its.
That's what
you
started
know,
the whole
no. Actually, I'm
game
sorry.
ratings
I'm
being
sorry.
a thing.
Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat Ultra or Ultimate or whatever it was on Nintendo 64. It was Mortal Kombat 1 through 3.
Nope. Because this is why I'm still involved in this. I'll correct you on that one. Trilogy was on 64.
Okay. It was Trilogy.
1, 2,
Gotcha.
3, and Ultimate 3 were on the.
Okay, well, I'll say
generation
Ultimate.
systems.
I'll say it's a tie between Super Mario World and Mortal Kombat Ultimate, 3 Ultimate
Yeah.
on Super Nintendo.
You know they're still
for me.
going, right? You know.
I'm
Mortal
aware of
Kombat's
this.
still
I am
a
aware
thing.
of this.
And
if
their
I'm not mistaken-
fatalities now
Are
are
crazy.
fucking insane.
And they've had Freddy, Jason, Michael
Wow.
Myers,
Right,
Spawn, all that for special characters. Predator, like all kinds of shit. Terminator, he was a character in the new one. And real quick, what we're gonna do is we got to take a commercial break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna do our beer of the week, and then we're gonna get into more video game stories, some of the fucked up things we've done in Grand Theft Auto, and also what some of our favorite video games are, and all that stuff for Sega, Nintendo
Move on
64,
down the line.
and all that stuff. So here's a little bit of a word from our sponsors, and we will see you guys in a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Sophia West, and thank you for listening to the Happy Hour podcast.
We here at the HH Pod would like for you to go visit Tony, Kaylee, and the rest of their talented artists at Instant History Tattoo and Art Studio in beautiful downtown Havre de Grace. They were recently voted second runner-up and the best in Hartford County. Make sure you check them out and get some quality ink done. Once again, that's Instant History Tattoo and Art Studio.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Shining Diamond, Rico Diamante, and I am a graduate of the EWA Paint Factory. Have y'all ever dreamed of stepping out of the crowd and getting into the ring? I mean, that's exactly what I did, and all I'm doing is kicking ass and taking names since. The EWA Paint Factory is now accepting new students so you can experience the same success as the Shining Diamond, Rico Diamante. We're located at 1113 North Point Boulevard in Dundalk, Maryland. So make sure you find us on social media, on Twitter and Facebook. Make your dreams come true today.
Hey everybody, this is Bobby Starr, formerly of WCW, and you're listening to the Happy Hour Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Happy Hour Podcast. Of course, we're sitting here talking video games, and we're just going to get right back into it. Sega Genesis.
Of course, you have the Sonic titles, which are the go-tos for most people. The counterpart to Mario. I can't say I have a favorite between the two, to be honest. Between Mario and Sonic, it's a different taste for a different day.
Yeah, it's Sonic 2.
Yeah.
I still know the fucking cheat.
For some reason, I like Sonic and Tails. Sonic and Tails was good, but I used to always get pissed at Tails because that fucker would always drop me when he would have to carry you or whatever. And all.
What was the one that you could piggyback the cartridges on top of each other?
Game Genie?
Game Genie.
No, not a Game Genie. It was a Sonic game that you could play as Tails in one of the other previous Sonic games.
Oh, I remember that. I forgot what the hell it was called. But Game Genie was the jam.
I think. I'm sorry. No. I could be incorrect, but I think it was Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh,
The top part of the cartridge was open as well, and you could like pop 3 on top of that.
You could pop Knuckles into any game.
Right.
That's what it was. Knuckles could go, and you could also do it with Tails also.
Right. That's what
I was just thinking. I was like, it's got to be that Knuckles game.
See, Sega had a lot of solid ones.
They had their own proprietary games as well, like your Golden Axes, Ultra Beast, things like that.
Golden Axe.
My all-time favorite, Streets of Rage 2.
Streets of Rage.
I love Streets of Rage.
I love
the counterpart on the SNES being the Final Fight series.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And see, the thing is, Streets of Rage 2. I don't know if Mike knows this or not, but they just released Streets of Rage 4 with the original way that they did Streets of Rage 2 on Switch. And I bought it the day it came out.
So like all the original characters.
Yeah.
Like,
Axel was in it. They have every character but Rue, which pissed me off because I loved Rue, who was in the third
Definite
one.
fan of beat 'em ups, all the way from Double Dragon up and through.
Yeah.
Those were really good. And how can me and Mike leave some of these out? Some of the wrestling games. The wrestling games are solid.
Royal Rumble and all those. Yes.
If you go back, Super Nintendo, WWF Monday Night Raw, that was great with Owen Hart spinning around and all. WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Another good one.
Attitude was pretty good. I like that one.
Another good one was very little known title, Natsu Championship Wrestling. It was based on a Japanese game for the All Japan promotion, but much like the N64 titles where it got really in depth, this game on the SNES, you could do like 50, 60 moves per guy.
Really?
It wasn't just, punch, kick, pin. It was, you could do a whole bunch of shit.
But I'd have to say the best wrestling game that I played in this, I think was for, the wrestling game that I remember playing growing up was, I think it was WWF In Your House, I think.
Oh yeah, that was a predecessor to WrestleMania.
Was it?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, WrestleMania, the arcade game.
I loved that one. That was like my favorite. Playing as like Doink the Clown and shit.
In Your House is one of your favorite wrestling games.
Yeah. So with the wrestling games, we'll move on to Nintendo 64, which had its own block of great games. Nintendo 64, I think, to this day, still has the best wrestling game ever created, which was WWF No Mercy. And that was the predecessor, if you remember, it was WCW versus NWO Revenge. Then THQ went to WWE and they released WrestleMania 2000. And then there was No Mercy. And I'm hoping that one day they re-release No Mercy with a current roster, the exact game engine they had for that. Because nothing has ever compared to SmackDown here.
Even though it's a little hard to look at nowadays, to be honest, just like I was kind of crapping on GoldenEye earlier, it's kind of the same thing with that, but it's still fun to play. It is.
Yeah.
It still holds up in that respect.
And I mean, Nintendo 64, you had GoldenEye. Like, I mean, fuck,
people still do that to this day. I'm aware of that. They could, modern day wrestlers that are on Raw and the other shows today, they put them and they create characters in that game.
And I mean, like when Nintendo 64, it's hard to choose for me a definitive favorite title because there were a lot of games I like to play. Like, as you said, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, that was on there. That was great. You had GoldenEye. I played that religiously. Turok the Dinosaur Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Turok.
cool. I forgot all about Turok.
Seeds of Evil.
Yeah.
I remember that shit.
Super Mario 64. That was a whole complete, like the way the Mario games are now, that started it. Like Super Mario Odyssey and all that.
The PlayStation N64 era was definitely a turning point. It was basically what the Super Nintendo was to Nintendo. I'm sorry, reverse that. The next generation system is basically the GameCube, PS2, Xbox. That was a more polished version of the PS1 when N64 started.
Yeah, and I mean, and another good game that I liked, and this is going to go into a story for a second, is Star Fox. Mm-hmm. Star Fox was great. However, I had a passionate hatred for Falco.
You know what? Everyone did.
Yeah.
I hated that.
He was such a dick that every time he would say something smartass, I'd blow that motherfucker out of the sky. Mm-hmm. And I finally got my justice. I think it was for the Wii U. They released Super Smash Brothers. And he was a hidden character. And I'm just playing, and he fucking drops out. And I'm like, this bitch is
Super Smash
dead.
Brothers, another franchise that originated on the N64.
Well, see, the thing is with Super Smash Brothers is what kind of angers me is with Mario Kart. You had Mario Kart come out for the Wii U, And then when the Switch dropped, they did Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which only gave you like 2 more characters and an extra level. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? The last 6 years you've had the same Mario Kart pretty much. I'm hoping that the next one that comes out has more of a Super Smash Brothers type roster. I would love to drive around as Kirby or, you know, some one of those characters like Star Fox or whatever and all that, and a Mario Kart game. That would be awesome.
The Rainbow level was my favorite.
Oh, Rainbow Road? Oh, yeah. The one on Switch has, I think, 3 or 4 Rainbow Roads in it from like all the various different ones.
I used to trip acid.
Drug reference.
Yeah. And so that gets us into PlayStation. I did not have PlayStation 1. I was a firm Nintendo 64 guy, so I can't say a favorite title for PlayStation because I didn't
never
have
huge
one.
into PlayStation, and again, that was when I started to get out of gaming. But for me, the main series that kept me hooked on the PlayStation was Resident Evil.
Okay, yeah, Resident Evil.
That's a very big one right there.
Yeah, Resident Evil. What was the one that was it Nemesis that was out for PlayStation 2? Because PlayStation 2 was the first PlayStation that I purchased, and I've been with PlayStation
First 3 games
since.
were on the original PlayStation.
Okay.
First 3 were.
Okay. So I think
Code Veronica was on 2.
Okay.
And also 4.
Gotcha. Because they remade some of those.
Yes,
They did
yes.
remakes of some of those.
There was actually no other games in the series, but Resident Evil 2 in cartridge format was on N64 as well.
What was the one that was on GameCube? That was actually kind of decent.
They did a remake of the original and,
Did they?
and a
Okay.
standalone game, Resident Evil 0.
Gotcha.
for GameCube.
Gotcha. Yeah, those weren't bad. I remember GameCube also had a terrible wrestling game on it. What was it? WrestleMania X8.
They had
or whatever
WrestleMania
it was.
X8, WrestleMania 19, Day of Reckoning, and Day of Reckoning 2.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I did.
those goddamn games, and those were those small
Cool
little teeny
soundtrack.
tiny
Had Breaking Benjamin
CDs.
and other
Oh
bands
yeah,
from the
yeah,
era.
they did, and those were those teeny tiny little fucking CDs that look like pepperonis. That you in this little
Didn't
teeny
taste like
tiny
them,
square.
did they?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
So let's see. So there's that. PlayStation 2 comes out. PlayStation 2, I think I played a little bit of everything with that. PlayStation 2, of course, introduced the whole entire world to Grand Theft Auto.
I enjoy the early days of that generation. The very, very early days, just from watching other people.
Oh yeah.
But that's when it started to get overwhelming for me. I don't know why.
See,
it became
with
big.
PlayStation, I wasn't even quite into Grand Theft Auto and stuff yet. I was playing games like this actually got me part into the like the fantasy kind of shit.
Yeah.
I would play Legacy of Kain. I don't think
Okay.
you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
But you play as like a fucking vampire and you kill
Yeah.
people. You just suck their blood and all this weird shit.
Me, I don't really like role playing games much, but there was one.
Yeah, that's
My-
kind of
yeah.
introduced me into like
Yeah.
RPGs and shit.
My best friend Chris, we used to sit when we were in high school. We were literally every night. My dad would order us pizza. We'd sit there all night, play video games, and eat pizza. I don't know how we're both not 500 pounds, but the thing is we would sit there. There was a game that we got. It was called Champions of Norath. Champions of Norath Return to Arms, and it was one of those kind of games that was kind of like an early Warcraft. I think it might have been a really early Elder Scrolls type game, and you could be like an elf cleric and shit. I remember the character that I was. He could raise skeletons. And,
necromancer.
and yeah, and
I
as
know, I'm such a fucking dork, aren't I?
and as you went along, like you could do one skeleton, then it'd be 2 skeletons. The next thing you know, I'm fucking calling up 15 fucking skeletons to fight along with me and all that shit.
I have
So-
very limited experience with RPGs, even going back to the 16-bit and 8-bit eras, like the Final Fantasy games. I don't get them. I'm not saying they're crappy. I mean,
Yeah,
because I don't understand them.
I never got into them. I couldn't
I don't-
get into Final Fantasy.
I'm just a fucking dork.
They seem to go so long, and
They do, and that's the problem with seeing. I'm hopping right into like Skyrim and shit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's
I mean, to each their own. I'm
that-
not faulting anybody, but at the same time, I've given it several attempts, and I'm like, I don't see how
games
people have
like
fun with
Elder
this.
Scrolls. Like I will play that till I die. Like if that shit, because they're supposed to be coming out with a new one in like I don't know when.
That's a
years
pretty
from now.
long running series, though.
The only,
Right.
the only reason why
Yeah.
I know anything about that is from local radio station here in Baltimore, 98 Rock.
Yeah.
Amelia and Scott from the morning show would talk about Skyrim
they
all
would
the
talk
time.
about it all the time.
Morrowind before, which came out before Skyrim. I used to play that shit fucking all the time. Or no, did it?
One
Am I
game.
skipping it? No. But Skyrim, I would spend hours playing that because, see, you could do different playthroughs, and it was like it's so open world. The map was
So it's
huge.
like a new experience every time.
Right, and it could, yeah, because everything is like generated differently. You know, like even if you do a different playthrough, there's got this like same quest and shit, but you might get a different outcome.
Now, if you quote unquote finish the game, choices you made in the first playthrough, does that carry over to subsequent replays?
No,
No.
it wouldn't do it unless
Well, that would be
because
kinda
you'd
cool
be
if
on
they
a
did that.
you'd be on a different character. You know, if you're playing one character, you finish your playthrough.
I'm probably sound completely ignorant to people listening to this because I'm probably asking questions like that fucking moron.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It's like it's about a question. If you don't really play RPGs, you wouldn't
I
know,
might be a
especially
moron,
like
but you play gay games.
Well, see, here's the thing, and real quick, we're going to kind of get off topic a little bit. We need to do our beer of the week, which me and you drank a lot of this over
Right.
the 4th of July holiday.
Well-
And the beer of the week, would you like to say what it is, Matt?
Yes, it is Bud Light Orange.
And it's actually orange. It tastes like orange. Actually, it's not too bad.
Well, it has orange peels.
Yeah, I taste a citrusy taste to it,
Right.
And it's a lot different than Bud Light Lime because Bud Light Lime to me never tasted like lime. It just tasted like a weird tasting Bud Light, and this you can actually taste the citrus to it. So it's
Right.
I think pretty solid. So
Right, well, I'm a Bud Light drinker. This is like one of my go-tos. Not necessarily Bud Light Orange, but Bud Light. I will stay Bud Light Platinum probably
probably
till the day I die.
Bud Light Platinum and also Bud
Or
Light.
my
What
liver
was it?
decides to keel over.
Bud Light wheat. There was a wheat that they had that was really good,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have it anymore. But anyways, back to what we were talking about with the games. We just had to get our beer of the weekend there real quick. So I guess right now we're on current gen systems.
Mm-hmm.
So we've worked our way up to that, and of course, when we bring up PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and all that,
They're getting ready to come out with PlayStation fucking 5.
You can't
which
leave
is gonna
out.
break the bank for me.
Oh yeah, that alien-looking system that they have coming out. And I don't know
Looks
about
like
you
a
guys.
backpack here.
I was never really a big Xbox guy. I had Xbox 360, and then I got the 3 Rings of Doom twice, and I never went back to Xbox after that. I was like, screw this. And you can't mention those systems without bringing up the Grand Theft Auto series.
Yeah. I love
those-
Xbox and stuff, but it's their controllers. Just
That's
too-
a debate
it's
in and
weird.
of itself.
Too bulky
You know,
for me.
which one you prefer, Xbox or PlayStation? Because nowadays it seems like you're one or the other. But now it seems like the game libraries are very similar for both. Whereas years ago, again, Sega, Super Nintendo would be a vastly
Right.
different game as opposed to the way
Well,
it
you
is
have
now.
PlayStation exclusives, Xbox exclusives.
Yeah, like
but even
Halo.
that
You can't
is-
get Halo on PlayStation.
Right. Yeah, because that's like a copyrighted thing.
Yeah,
You will
MLB
never-
The Show.
Right.
None of those will ever be on Xbox, and that's a game that I play religiously. All this every year, a new MLB The Show comes out.
Right, and
So
like
as
I
far
was-
as multi-platforms, it's a crapshoot. It doesn't really matter, but it
don't
depends on
think
what
so.
kind of what exclusives are provided by each one. Tends to be which
right
one you
tends
pick.
to lean you more towards on. But like I said, it's down to me. It's down to the controller. Like I don't like how the bulkiness of the Xbox feels in my hand. I have tiny hands. My woman loves it because I can get up in those cracks and crevices, But the PlayStation controller is so much tiny. Well, obviously because it's made for.
Yeah.
not
What did it for me was the Wii controllers. I hated the Wii controllers,
Yeah.
the Wii and the Wii U controllers. Like the Wii U at least had the gamepad, but I didn't really like the Wii because it's like, look, I want to sit on my ass and be fat and play games. I don't want to fucking, throw
They
my
did have the
controller
classic
through my
controllers.
TV.
They had that option.
Oh yeah, we got for the Switch. We have the Switch now too, which my wife got the Switch. She plays Animal Crossing, and I tell her all the time, I'm like, just go over there and like put
The Switch controllers look very similar to the PlayStation controllers to me.
Oh yeah.
How does that work? Honey, I'm gonna play some Animal Crossing.
Yeah, well, the
outta
thing
here.
is you can't be fucked up to people in that, so I don't
Right.
play it. I'm like, and I asked her, I was like, well, can you like,
You're like, what's this? Good wholesome fun? Fuck that.
yeah, I'm like, can you spray one of the characters in the face with a hose? No.
Can I
Well,
at least fuck the sheep? I mean, fuck the sheep.
But no, like with that, like Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption was on what was it? PlayStation 3. Was it PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 2?
This is 4. We're on 4. PlayStation 4, right?
Yeah, we're on 4. We're on
PlayStation
4 now.
Red Dead
5's on
Redemption may have came out for PS3,
4. Yeah.
but the Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah,
I
which
was
is
currently
the
on
prequel. Come to find out,
Yeah,
Red Dead Redemption
technically
2
it is the prequel.
Yeah,
Which
and-
I'd never understood that tactic.
Yeah.
It seems weird to me because then, like, the graphics, it's like, it's so much better.
Yeah.
But this is a fucking prequel. I should be playing some shitty fucking retro game.
And me and you,
Hey.
I hate when they do that shit.
me and you have dove deep in Red Dead Redemption 2 online play, and this is one of those games that Mike, I know Eustace over here is gonna, but it's one of those games.
It would just piss you off.
I
could see him
love,
playing that.
I just
He
love
does that naturally.
My character, his beard's completely grown out. I never have him bathe.
Right, look.
All
and
that.
see, this is the other thing. See, that now Mike.
So wait a minute.
You're missing,
Wait a minute.
right?
You never
you're
have
missing
him
out,
bathe.
dude.
Yeah,
You're missing out.
He's like
So there's a
dirty.
part of this game where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna take my fucking little cowboy here, whatever he is. I'm gonna take him in the shower and
Yeah, he can get a bath, and a woman cleans you. A woman cleans you.
Because this is
Yeah.
this is also like a shooter. I would say it's first person, but
It's like Grand Theft Auto, but with horses.
it also has an RPG element.
Yeah,
that's
Where-
what you're
fun.
picking up on.
Where
okay.
obviously,
Yeah.
if you don't shower, you're just gonna get fucking
Yeah.
dirty,
You
and
can
it
be-
shows on your character.
you can be good or bad.
And
Like
the
you
video
can
game
be,
lady's not gonna want to fuck you if you're dirty, though, right?
Right.
yeah, and
Well-
you can be good or bad in Red Dead Redemption 2. So you can abide by the law and raise your integrity level, which
Right.
I have the lowest integrity level there is, because let's face it, my character, I always give my characters gimmicks. Like, he's turned to a life of crime. He's homeless. Every person I see.
So like truck drivers have a CV handle. Do you guys have like a gamer name that
Yes.
you when you play
Oh,
against
yeah.
other people?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What are they?
Well, mine, obviously, Chase Rawlings. I use that for almost everything. And yours is
Mine
what?
is. I just recently changed it, probably a couple months ago. It's Mad Meta Matt.
Is that what it is? Because you were smart for lurking there
you
for
go.
a while.
Chase Rawlings, and Mad Meta Matt. Fuck them up in Red Dead and Chase and the Friday the 13th game.
With Red Dead, here's some of the things. Like, I sit there and I love, you can sit there and you can lasso people and hog tie them. So I'll loot their shit. And then, they're hog tied. So what I like doing is I love taking people, and I love being on the edge of a cliff. And I'll take the person, you can pick them up on your shoulder, and I do one of two things. I either throw them off where there's rocks all the way down at the bottom, or I love throwing them off to where they hit the river, and you
What are
see
you
them
throwing them off of?
the side of the cliff.
Dude.
And
So it's like a Roadrunner cartoon?
Sure. If you want to reenact
yeah,
the Roadrunner
yeah.
cartoon, you sure
And,
fucking
you know,
can.
they'll hit
That
the
scene-
water,
dude,
and they'll
look,
be
this is the
hog-tied.
shit- This is the shit
Yeah.
you're missing, you old man.
They'll be hog-tied, and you
do
just see them
whatever the fuck you
squirming
want.
as they drown to death in the water. And, it's the kind of thing. Also, me and you that one day we were playing, and you can lasso people, and you're on your horse, and you drag them by the legs, like across
Do
the
you remember when I
ground.
was dragging you through the fire repeatedly?
Yeah.
And you'd catch on fire, so it would be just
Well-
this ball of fire behind me. I'm like, ah.
I remember we were playing Far Cry 5, and every time I knew you were on, because Far Cry 5, if you played by yourself, for some reason it was compatible that if you were playing with somebody, they would just show up. So I'd be in the middle of doing a mission, and this motherfucker, I forgot what he was wearing, but he had a leprechaun mask. and I'd be sitting
just
there
randomly
trying to,
show up in his
I'd be
games.
trying to fucking complete a mission, and my helicopter would be shot out of the air. And I looked, and it'd be Matt fucking riding on a motorcycle with a fucking leprechaun. Like a leprechaun would just appear out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, hey, Matt, what's
Thanks
up?
for clarifying that. You said this motherfucker, because I don't fuck my mom.
But no, so
Hey.
there's that.
In RPGs,
Yeah.
you can, and it's okay.
Yeah, and then
You guys are fucking gross.
do you guys remember a game? I think it was for PlayStation 2, and they need to make a remake of it. Leisure Suit Larry. Do you remember that? It was by Rockstar. There was a game called Leisure Suit Larry, and he
recall
was
that
in
name.
college, and his main goal was to have sex with women. And you would play these games, like you would be able to flip
Oh,
quarters
shit.
or whatever, and all
Yeah,
that.
dude, I
and they would do
remember
like
that.
sit, and you would have to match up spermies with like the little spermy things and like the song.
I don't remember that
And they
part.
would
That's
get
a little
naked or
weird,
whatever
but-
and all that. But Leisure Suit Larry was so awesome. I was like, oh man, they need to make a remake of this bitch. And then
Speaking of shit like that, though, you know what was interesting to me growing up? Because as far as like nudity in video games and shit
Yeah.
like that, the first game I played that had nudity was Duke Nukem. Do you guys remember Duke Nukem?
Yeah.
You would give the stripper
remember that.
money, and you'd be like, "Shake it, baby."
Yeah,
And these fuckers
yeah.
like,
Oh, Duke Nukem.
Oh my
was a
god,
game where you
I
could do all
have
kinds
my
of
brother
stuff,
just
so.
like can you do it again? Do it again. I was like fucking 6 years old. Do it again. I want to see the boobies. And it's like these digital boobies. You can't even really tell they're fucking boobs.
And nowadays you have Grand Theft Auto, which you can go into a strip club, pay the stripper, they give you a lap dance. My thing, every Grand Theft Auto that's ever been out, I always do something where I become
How
quote
many
unquote.
Grand Theft Auto games have there been?
So there's been there's five right now. So but 3, it got good at 3. 3 was
Would
where
you say
they
that's
started.
that's
to
your
get good.
favorite game? So,
I think
3 on is what you like.
I would say 5 is because of the
No, actually, they had more. They had spin-offs because Vice City wasn't a numbered one. I think my favorite Grand Theft Auto was Vice City.
Vice City was kind of what got me into Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I mean, besides San Andreas, which was fun as shit too.
You could buy the strip clubs and all that stuff.
Right,
Like, you could do
but
so much more in that.
Vice City definitely was what got me into Grand Theft Auto.
And with Grand Theft Auto,
I mean,
like,
you can run around with a fucking chainsaw and just fuck people
yeah,
up with a chainsaw.
I love being Jack the Ripper in that. What I love doing is I love driving around. You'll find the populated area where all the hookers are. And Socrates would appreciate this. You know, you sit there.
My first exposure to this, I don't know what game it was or which game in the series. It was a Grand Theft Auto game. A buddy of mine, Wild West 21, would play that. I would watch him play, and he's just carjacking, beating people up. And I'm like, I don't understand this. And he's into this game. I mean, into it.
Dude, you can do
Get away with it. You just
I guess it's something you have to experience to understand.
Yeah.
Because watching it, I don't.
If
I don't get it.
if you anticipate the downfall of humanity, that game is the downfall of humanity. Like, I drive around, I pick up hookers, take them to a dark corner, have them perform a sex act, and then I stab them to death behind a building. And I go get another one, take them to the same area, stab them to death.
If you have any preconceived ideas about these two gentlemen here, both of them, believe it or not, are married.
Hey, but you gotta make sure
True
you
story.
get your money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got to take your money back, and then their money.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I was playing Grand Theft Auto 4. It was the one with Nico. The main character was Nico, and I was having a standoff with the police. And there was a part off the boardwalk where there was a bowling alley. So I run into a bowling alley, and I'm sitting there. I'm having to shoot off with the police. I run into the bowling alley. Bam! Hit a bowler with a shotgun. Hit another bowler with a shotgun. They're dead. So I'm crouched down behind the little thing where they give out, like, the front counter. I had already robbed the register. I'm crouched down. I, no bullshit, probably killed about 450 cops that standoff. I was like, all right, I'm ready to turn it off. I'm going to go run outside, let chaos happen to get shot. So I go to run outside. I look over. There's this fucking guy bowling. I'm sitting there. Mind you, this is like almost an hour and a half standoff I have with these. I'm like, this guy fucking and I'm like, I need to let this guy live. And I was like, you know what? Fuck him. So I pulled out a bat, and me being shot by the police was me beating this bowler to death with a baseball bat. And yeah.
Right.
So.
See, it's a video game, and we know in real life that, obviously you can't get away with that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you get shot once, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
But,
So it's kind of like a dream while you're awake. When you get that sensation, when you realize you're dreaming, you're like, oh, I can do this now. I can do that.
Right,
yeah.
it's like an adrenaline thing.
Yeah.
Like, you get in your car, you drive like a pretty normal person. You speed everything.
Oh, dude,
you're good. You're stand-up citizen. But in these games,
Mike, you
don't have to be.
You think the regular game's fucked up? Online is chaos. People are just doing whatever they want.
Certain people will probably be predisposed to look at a game like this and play and think, I don't want to say not be able to differentiate it from real life, but think, fuck it, I can do this stuff too. Yeah. And actually do it.
Yeah,
and other people, it's an outlet for them to where it keeps them from doing things that way.
See, now that's where we're crossing the line of between being psycho or not. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But no, I've seen some people in some YouTube videos. People actually try to do this kind of same shit. Doesn't go over very well.
Oh yeah.
Because the thing is, in
YouTube
real
video
life,
titled Grand Theft Auto Video, real life.
right? Because in real life, cops are coming at you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. How often?
Fuck that. You're not gonna win, dude.
Have we not gotten out of the era in the life, in our lives where video games and movies and TV shows are blamed for what people do? It's imaginary. It's fake. People are fucked
I agree.
up.
In younger years, again, I was big on as silly as it sounds now and basic as it was, the blood and Mortal Kombat and Marilyn Manson music and all that shit that used to get looked at a certain way. Like and now in my later years, it was just silly a phase of
Yeah,
that, what have
when
you.
you start to grow up, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
what the fuck? did
Well,
I
in your
do?
guys' opinion,
But-
since I'm completely out of the loop, what does the future of gaming look like? What does it look like 10 years from now?
virtual reality.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It's not that great right now. I have did have a virtual reality headset where but it's not all that great.
It was more
It's-
so better for porn. That virtual reality headset was great for
Shush!
porn.
You shut your mouth.
Might
I'll
shot
never,
right in your eye.
I'll never forget that as long as I live. That we were at our friend Mike's house, and Matt had just bought it. He's like, guys, you need to check this out. And all of our wives are inside the house, and we're sitting out in his garage. And he's like, dude, watch this. And he puts it's virtual reality, like literally legit virtual reality porn. And we're putting it on. We're like, this is awesome. And the girls are like, what are you guys out here doing? We're playing virtual reality. Get out of here.
We're all standing there circle jerking like
yeah. We're all out there with our dicks tied together.
so
You know?
All these gentlemen have wives that they could actually have, real sex with, but they're in a garage watching other people have sex.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm gonna tell you something, man. When you watch one of those fucking, you would understand. See, now we're getting away with virtual porn, but the thing is, you could get in it's like a POV thing. You're getting your fucking dick sucked by some fucking chick, and you can look over, you can look around the room all you want, because when they do the scene, they do it in all 3D. You can look over, the fucking TV's on, playing, whatever's on.
Baseball game, and you're like, oh shit, what's going on?
And you're just like. Yeah.
And really, with the virtual reality stuff, how
So
many
that
times?
seems like that's something that would be cool. You guys like the first-person shooters, and you would be totally immersed in that atmosphere.
You'd be a first-person
in
shooter.
it.
Look-
Yeah, you'd be a first-person shooter in other ways.
Look, look, I love my wife and everything, but the fact you can do that, if this shit was out, because me and my wife have been together for a long time, this shit came out when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I honestly see no reason to have a relationship with a woman. Ever.
Well, the way the world is nowadays, that's probably the safer way to go about it.
Well, we sidetracked a little bit with the virtual reality stuff, and me and you tag each other in videos all the time. Some of that shit's crazy. There's stuff you'll be in a bar or whatever and all that. Next thing you know, people start fist fighting. You're throwing each other off of balconies and shit, and fucking just chaos going on.
It's virtual reality, it's hilarious watching these.
Oh yeah,
videos.
some of the videos are just completely crazy. There was one end of a Spartans, and they were sitting there spearing each other just.
I'm not even going to speculate how the control aspect would work. I mean, I could definitely
I think they
see
do gloves,
again just the
eventually.
progression of games. Graphically, sonically, in every which way has progressed astronomically over the years.
Oh yeah.
So I know it's in its infancy now, but I can see the VR gaming becoming, for all intents and purposes,
Well, have you ever
real.
seen the movie Ready Player One?
Yeah.
That's the future. I'm going to tell you this now. That is what we're going to be. I mean, still people are going to support their.
What was that thing people were doing on their phones? What was it? A Pokemon thing? Yes. So when this VR gaming gets in full swing, how many people are going to be in the hospital because of it, or injuries caused? It's gonna happen.
Not
paying
paying attention and just getting
you know,
hit by a
that-
car.
Yeah.
I had to catch your
it's going to be some drunk guy. It'll be fun to play this game while I stand next to this fire pit.
Yeah. Well, just imagine this. Imagine imagine that virtual reality 100% works. Most mind-blowing thing you've ever seen in your life. Imagine a Grand Theft Auto where you have gloves and boots or just a whole suit that you can react with, where you're doing all this shit. But I feel like that with a costume like that, you should be able to have a vest, and it pulsates. And if you get shocked, it pulsates.
I think they've already invented
on
stuff
that. On that note, I'm sure somebody's already thought of this because everybody's already thought of everything. Arcades died out in the late 90s, early 2000s. With the VR coming back, like you just described, do you remember the old games where if it was a motorcycle game, you were on a motorcycle, that mood had the vibration features? Those things could see a resurgence. I think done the right way, an arcade could be a thing again.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I see what you guys are talking about. I definitely think that, the whole bike thing, like what you brought up with the video game, virtual reality, I think that's going to take off. But, right now, anyways, that concludes our episode this week for the Happy Hour podcast. We are real quick going to announce who our guest is going to be next week on the Happy Hour podcast.
The one and only, the incomparable Jake the Snake Roberts.
That's going to be awesome.
Now, Jake, keep in mind, WWE Hall of Famer. I also myself wrestled Jake the Snake Roberts. So that should be interesting. The last time me and Mike saw Jake, it was at a comedy show, and I brought that up to him, and he's like, "No, man, I don't remember any of that." So, yeah. So make sure you tune in next week for WWE Hall of Famer.
It'll be one you definitely don't want to miss.
Jake the Snake Roberts. So, as always, Matt, Mike, I'm Ray.
Retro for life. You guys are idiots.
And this is the Happy Hour Podcast. We'll see you guys next week with Jake Roberts.